Mercedes have gone from being 8-time world champions to getting dusted by Red Bull and Ferrari with the new regulations that came into play this season. But, as we all expected, a team with championship DNA such as Mercedes will not be down for too long, as Lewis Hamilton expects the team to be back in the fight for the title next season. So, what changes does the team have to make? Will Lewis Hamilton still be behind George Russell next season? Well, let's talk about it then. But before we do, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on our latest uploads. Now that's out of the way, let's get started. Lewis Hamilton has recently confirmed that the team will be doing a major overhaul with their design, as their W13 has still yet to deliver a race win for the team, and Lewis for that matter, who has to sit and watch his arch nemesis of last season wrap up the driver's title. The 7-time world champion would say in a recent interview with Sky Sports that he has mixed feelings about the change in approach. From being here for such a long time, knowing how long it takes to change things, knowing how long the processes are, the decisions have to be actioned months in advance of the direction that you're going, Hamilton said. You're constantly collating data and getting different bits of information that can alter those along the way. One thing is that I have 1000% confidence in my team. I would say, just with how the rules are, I know it can be tough for everybody. Everyone is going to have to dig even deeper during these next 6 months, and it's not going to be easy, but I feel like everyone's up to the challenge, up to the task. Mercedes rival Red Bull has won 14 of the 18 races this season, which is partly due to Adrian Newey's perfect design. This is why Lewis believes that a similar concept to Red Bull would be the first step toward being a legitimate contender again. If you look at Red Bull, they've got a car that's amazing. They've done an incredible job this year as a whole, every single individual there, Hamilton said. So, their car will probably just continue to evolve, as probably will Ferrari's. Although they've got some teething problems, whereas we've had to take a step back and switch gears and go in a different direction and hope that we're on the right path to be able to get back engaged. Another L, as you young'uns would say, that Lewis had to take this year is the fact that he is trailing his newcomer teammate George Russell by 27 points in the driver's standings. Lewis would also address this by saying that it's part of the learning process the team is going through in order to get back to the front. I think we've learned so much through the data, said Hamilton. I've tested everything on the car. I've tested every setting that you can possibly test on the car 100 times, and I've paid the price for it through the first half of the season. But for me, that was about gaining knowledge for the team, so they could literally tick off the box and say that does or doesn't work. I felt like that was really my role. Yes, I'm behind in points, but it's the bigger picture. I hope that work will impact us better for not only the remaining races this year, but into next year, in terms of where we steer, because I'm part of that rudder, in terms of steering us in the direction. I hope so much that we can fight back next year, and we just have to speak it and work it into existence. But while Lewis sees his situation with George as a necessary sacrifice for the future of the team, former F1 driver and now Sky Sports analyst Damon Hill would applaud George for stamping his authority in his debut season with the Silver Arrows team, especially when he comes to a team that is undoubtedly owned by Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion. George Russell has come in, and he's come into this very difficult situation, said Damon. It really is putting your head in the lion's mouth. He's absolutely stamped his authority and credentials on this team, and also as a viable contender and a viable teammate to Lewis Hamilton. There are not many people that have managed not to be crushed by that relationship, and Lewis has had some bad luck this year. Maybe he wasn't all there at the start of the season for good reasons, but he's coming back. But with that, Damon believes that Hamilton is more motivated than ever, as the 7-time world champion has closed the gap with Russell in these last few races. Hill would say that Russell will have to go up a gear if he wants to keep his lead against Lewis. When Lewis has started to be more motivated, which he seems to be this latter half of the season, sniffing the opportunities of better results, I think George is starting to find out quite what a competitor Lewis is, Hill continued. His shine, although he's ahead on points, I think that Lewis is definitely creeping and recovering those points gradually over the last few races of the season. So he needs to double down a little bit, and his first season with this team has been absolutely fantastic, outstanding, and he has shown what a quality driver he is. Definitely got championship potential. George would also receive praise from the team's mechanical director Mike Elliott by saying, "You expect racing drivers to be pushy. They have a limited career and they want to win. I wouldn't describe George as over-pushy. I think he's working really hard with the team. I think what's been really nice is to see him grow. You sit down next to a 7-time world champion at the table, and bringing your contribution has got to be tough at the beginning. But I think George has had a big part to play in the team, and I think he's doing a really good job." And as for George, the young Mercedes driver would also say that he believes that Mercedes will undoubtedly bounce back and be better than ever next season. George would cite the team's bold design choice this season as proof that the team is committed to innovating and finding that extra advantage to give them the competitive edge. "I found it pretty inspiring when we brought this new design concept to the car for 2022 with the no side pod philosophy," said Russell. "Even though, retrospectively, it hasn't worked out for us this season, it showed an attitude within this team that it doesn't matter how much success they've had, they're still willing to push the boundaries. I think that gives me confidence moving into the future because you have to make these bold decisions sometimes. Sometimes they go against you, but sometimes they don't. If you're complacent, settling for an easy route, you're never going to win. So I think if anything, that attitude is maintained. We're pushing the boundaries." George would also hint that the team is undoubtedly trying to chase Red Bull for next season by saying, "We have a philosophy that we're going to be trying to adopt in our development, and I'm very confident that it is the correct one. But equally, it doesn't mean that we can necessarily achieve it. We have a target, and that is a massive position in itself. We know that we're chasing. We have a clear target we're trying to chase now. We obviously don't know how much our rivals are going to improve over this winter, but I definitely have confidence that we will have a more complete car across the circuit range going into 2023. And there you have it, guys. So, will Mercedes be able to catch up with Red Bull next season? And will the battles between George and Lewis be much closer? Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.